Good morning, guys. Welcome back. As promised, we're going to be doing another video every single day. Maybe not Saturday, but we'll see. It is the 2nd of July, 2025. I'm driving to work. Had a great sleep, had a very deep sleep. I woke up to no sound of my alarm, and I am leaving home a little bit later than usual, but that is okay. I can forgive myself. And hey, who doesn't want to sleep in? That's a pretty good start to the day, in my opinion. When you get a bit of an extra couple of Z's in. Today we're going to be looking at obviously doing some work, and then from there I've got to go and see a place that I may or may not purchase. But with all that said, there are a couple of things that may be on my mind that I want to talk to you guys today about. And one of those things is the future of Australia. I think the future of Australia is a really interesting question because, yes, we're such a culturally diverse nation, and we've been like that for as long as I can remember. But, there are certain aspects currently now that we're experiencing a bit of a cultural, not identity crisis, but potentially a shift from, the deterioration of little country communities. And I happen to have grandparents in a little country community, and they seem to say it's going strong, but there's been a decrease or a decline in the number of people moving there in favour of big cities such as, Perth, etc. So what is the future of Australia? Well, in my opinion, there are probably two aspects to this. There's one, the economic, and two, there's the social cohesion side, if you will. The economic really has been propped up by government jobs, NDIS, to keep our unemployment rate somewhat low. And then our social cohesion is more about our national pride side of things. And to be completely honest with you, oh my gosh, there's litter everywhere on the road. Yeah, there's litter everywhere on the road. Wow, unbelievable. The social cohesion side is basically national pride. But in saying that, we had Anzac Day, when was that? A couple of months ago now. And I went with my dad to Kings Park, which is like the main sort of Anzac Memorial there in Perth. And I was genuinely surprised and probably impressed and proud of the turnout. Apparently there was about 25,000 people at the dawn and sort of mid-morning service. And, to me, that's pretty good numbers still. I don't know how that stacks up with past years. I haven't done an analysis on that. But so far, from my observations anyway, being there, I was definitely dumbfounded by probably the amount of people that had gone. And it's good. It's a positive thing. We got to pay tribute to those that have fallen in the Anzacs. But yeah, the whole sort of narrative of culturally diversifying as our strength is somewhat, I guess, in question these days. In saying that, I have a very nice Thai girlfriend who I adore, and I wouldn't have been able to meet her if she hadn't come here. So there's definitely pros and cons to every flip of the coin. I think it comes back to probably heavily regulating who we bring in. That's all it comes down to. If you want to bring in quality people that will do good for this country, you just got to screen them a bit better, and not just give them out like lollipops at the airport. And I understand why the government's doing it, because they want to keep the risk of recession away. Like they want to minimize that as best they can, and by bringing more people, that allows them to tax more people, which brings in more revenue for the government, etc., etc. I totally understand that, but there comes a time when the average Australian, for like second, third, fourth, fifth generation Australian, whatever, who has been here and loves his country, then all of a sudden their grandkids can't even buy property, let alone get to work in a timely manner, because the traffic has increased tenfold, because there's all these Camry hybrids and Corolla hybrids and RAV4 hybrids on the road. It is a bit concerning. Going forward, would I want to bring a child into this sort of conundrum and all that sort of stuff? No, not at all. I don't have an ounce of interest to do that, to be honest with you. I think that's it's a personal thing. If a couple or if a person doesn't want to have a child, that's totally up to them. I don't think it should be forced upon anyone at all at any given time, no matter how low the birth rate may be, which currently I think we're at 1.2 per woman, every child. So yeah, it is quite low. It's probably not as low as Japan. Japan's obviously got some real problems, just from an age bracket perspective. I mean, the Australian population does have an aging sort of demographic. Don't get me wrong, we're not that much different to Japan, but in Japan there is like literally country villages, if you so choose, or if you so reckon, that are being wiped out just because of old people. Like they're just dropping dead. That's the reason. So yeah, when you look at it like that, it's definitely concerning. But yeah, here in Australia, it's more about the country towns that are being wiped out in response or in favour of city living. But what we've created here in Australia, in Perth, whatever you want to call it, is the zoning. The zoning has unfortunately negated high density dwellings. So basically we've had to build out instead of keeping close to somewhat to the CBD. That's why you got places like Yanchep up north, which they've built a railway up there just to facilitate those people. But I mean, Yanchep is an absolute drive, and I couldn't imagine my commute that I'm doing now from Yanchep. I mean, that would be probably it for me. I'd be like, yeah, it's not really worth the drive, and then the drive back to home every day. I mean, my car would probably be racking up the K's more than it is now. It'd be that dire. So there's that element. But what do you guys reckon? Comment down below. Like, what do you think's happening with Australia's national pride? And do you want to have a kid? Do you want to have kids, plural? Like, what is your goal? Do you want to bring another life into this world that you think could potentially one day be affected? Now, it's funny because with the media, not that I try not to get roped into it too much, but just recently there was that 12-day war in Iran against Israel, and Donald Trump had to dip his toes in and all that, and send in B-2 bombers to bomb Iran and their nuclear plants, which apparently didn't decimate the whole plant, just set them back probably a couple of months. Bearing in mind there was no real problem with them having nuclear arms. I mean, people around the world were worried because it was Iran. Apparently they were threatening to potentially use it, but every country that I can think of, except for Australia and some other ones in there, New Zealand perhaps, doesn't have nuclear weapons. Pakistan has it. India has it. They just had a bit of a stoush, you know. I don't think Thailand has it. But yeah, what do you guys reckon about that? I mean, they were threatening World War III. The warmongers in the deep state, you know, they keep pushing World War III, and Trump, he doesn't want a bar of it. And so that's what we've come to at the moment. The world that we live in is quite, somewhat, in some aspects, dicey. Yeah. So yeah, it's just one of those things that you got to be aware of going forward. That's all. There's nothing wrong yet. But no, I'm just driving to work. I'm just telling you my thoughts. Nothing crazy. If there's a question you guys have, put it in the comments below. I'm more than happy to answer it in my next video. It gives me something to research and to sort of dive into as well. I think would be beneficial. And as I said in my previous video, which you can see on my channel, was, you know, I was like, well, I drive to work, like it's an hour commute, give or take, maybe 5 minutes, like 55 minutes to work. And I was like, well, I can be more productive. I can be more productive. So, you know, that's what I'm going to do. And you know, I think it's something that could potentially be fruitful, you know, not just for this channel, but for you guys to connect and to see somebody in a mundane everyday life situation, such as driving to work, just speak their mind. Just speak their mind. But it's really interesting because, you know, as I was saying in my previous video yesterday, you know, I have been working. It is the 2nd of July. I do have until the 16th of next month to pass my probation. That would be meaning I've been officially at my job for 6 months, and yeah, that would be a great achievement for me, I think, just to get to that mark, just to pass that probation. And yeah, I think that would be really, really good. I wouldn't mind that, to be honest, because I think I said in yesterday's video that, you know, it's a good paying job. It's a job that you know, we'll do. I'd like to work there for at least a couple of years, if not 3, and then just see where my life goes. You know, I don't want to be in Perth my whole life, and I'm not one of those guys that, you know, although I think Australia is a great country. I'm not bagging Australia out. Australia is a great, resourceful country, safe. There's no bombings, there's no natural earthquakes and all those disasters and all that crap. We're lucky in that aspect. But I do believe that there are other things that I'm probably not so keen on, and I'll probably name a couple off for you. We're the most taxed country in the world. They tax you for pretty much everything here in Australia that they can get their hands on off you, and that's something that I just don't appreciate. I'm happy to work hard and be that middle class sort of freaking worker bee to help the Centrelink people and to, I guess, pay the tax because the rich won't. That's okay. I'm willing to put my hand in the fire and do that. Okay. The other thing I don't quite like about Australia is that it's quite woke, and what I mean by that is it's predominantly, you can't say things entirely how you would like to say them without coming across or being said or being pointed out as a racist. If you say anything about immigration, if you say anything remotely negative about they them pronouns, like there's just a lot of things where it's like, oh gee, I better not say that. And even though you might be thinking it, it's just better not to say it. I'm just giving you a couple of examples there. And the other one that I don't like about Australia primarily is that it's probably the identity thing. Is like, well, what constitutes as being Australian? It's one of those colonial establishments where like the UK at the moment, if you research the UK, if you look into what's actually happening over there, they are absolutely getting railroaded. And what I mean by that is, if I'm talking about like third, fourth, fifth generation UK people, are just getting railroaded, and they're being treated as if they're strangers in their own country. And so immigrants in particular are being housed in 5-star hotels, and they are basically being better looked after than the pensioners in the UK that can't even turn on their heaters in winter because all the government is putting their attention onto immigrants. That's a true story. That's not me blowing that out of proportion. I couldn't believe it. I still can't. And that is that is what we're heading towards as like Australia. You just got to look over your backyard to your neighbours to see, well, okay, if that's happening in the UK, that's happening in Canada, for example. If that's going to happen in New Zealand, well, why can't it happen here in Australia? And that's what I see probably happening down the line here in Australia. And if you gave me a choice to retire or whatever, retire here in Australia or retire back in what is it? Say Thailand. I'd choose Thailand, 100%, and it's for those reasons I've just mentioned. And I think that, look, Thailand's not getting cheap either. There's a lot of places in the world that are getting more expensive. That's just a fact. And I'm not saying, well, okay, if you go and live in another country, you're going to be getting rid of all your problems. No, your problems generally follow you where you go. So if you can't get your shit sorted in your home country, you're not going to get your shit sorted in a foreign land, if you understand what I'm saying. So I'm well aware of that. However, I know that if you think outside the box, you think broadly, you analyze your environment, you analyze what's happening in other countries, and you try to mitigate the risk before it happens, therefore preparing and making judgments based on what you're seeing around the world. I probably don't want to be in Perth or Australia for that matter when I retire. Pure and simple. So that's just how it is. That's how I think on the situation. I'm not saying my thoughts are exactly 100% correct. They're just my personal opinions. Each to their own. Everyone's different. A lot of people couldn't even fathom moving away from their family or, I guess, stepping out of their comfort zone for one, to even consider doing that. And that's okay. That's totally fine. I think, if I can work for 3 more years, save up, potentially, have something in my name, hopefully by then that would probably allow me to free up and, maybe rent the place out and just go and live in another country, without any sort of risks or problems and all that sort of stuff. That's how I see it. Anyway, but Australia's got a lot of things going for it. Still, it does, but it's a lot of things that unfortunately are stacked against us in the long run, and a lot of that is just poor government, poor sort of regulation of what's actually being put in place, or what they're planning. What we have over here in Australia at the moment is called capital shelling. So if you have a business, a small business, and you've got 4 people on a coffee machine, a barista machine, they're going to be bumping into each other. They're not going to be as efficient. They're probably not going to make as many coffees. But if you put 2 people on that barista machine, at least you're only paying for 2 people. Those 2 people can actually maximize your return on that barista machine, because they're not going to bump into each other, and they're probably going to make more coffees as a result because they'll be more productive. That is capital shelling. That is what is happening here in Australia at the moment, because we've got too many people using the infrastructure, and it's just not keeping up. It's just not keeping up. And a lot of that is because of the reasons I explained, was because of not being able to build in high densities close to the cities, but instead we're spreading out too much, and that's what causes just infrastructure. You got to build more roads, build more trains, build more hospitals, build more, because you're getting further and further away, and you need things closer to you, or to your suburb, whichever suburb you're living in. So that's just the fact of the matter, unfortunately. So, but yeah, what do you guys reckon? Comment down below, like and subscribe. You do me a huge favor if you can do that. Come along with me for the ride every morning on my way to work. I haven't even arrived to work yet. It's 8:06 on the 2nd of July 2025. I will see you in the next one, guys. Cheers.